Welcome to this deep dive. Today, our mission is really sharp, very focused. We want to cut through some of the, let's say, ambiguity and get real clarity on some quite profound spiritual concepts.
That's right. We've taken a rich, layered discussion, the English podcast discussion with Dr. JAS.AZEEMI, and we're really zooming in on spirituality, self-knowledge, and what these key terms actually mean.
Yeah, exactly. For you, the listener, seeking that depth and, concrete understanding.
We've synthesized the material moving from, well, the fundamental limits of how we perceive the divine, right through to a pretty rigorous analysis of specific spiritual terms. The aim is clarity, a clear map.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We're going right to the core, the heart of knowing, starting with that big question, the one that anchors so much spiritual seeking. How does a person actually sense or feel the Creator?
Well, the sources jump right in, establishing a fundamental principle. It references the idea of la tudrikahul absar, which in simple terms means no created being, doesn't matter how advanced or powerful, has the built-in capacity to perceive the Creator with its senses.
So it's not about trying harder or having better senses?
No. Perception or revelation is an act that comes from the Creator. It's given when and how he decides.
Right, and this is where it gets really interesting because the discussion asks why. Why this limit? Why can't our senses, our hissiyat, as the source calls them, reach the divine? We use them for everything else?
It really boils down to a fundamental conflict, you could say, between the limited and the limitless.
Okay.
The core concept discussed is ahad, meaning the absolute one, the limitless. Now, our senses, by their very nature, can only perceive things that have boundaries, things with limits.
Like, well, anything in this room. I can see the edges of the table, the wall.
Exactly. You perceive things because they are contained within certain parameters. But if the Creator is ahad, boundless, limitless, then our limited sensory tools they just can't contain or encompass that.
It's like trying to fit the ocean into a cup.
Precisely. It's a dimensional impossibility, almost. Our finite apparatus cannot register the infinite. It's not designed for it.
That makes a kind of profound sense, actually. It reminds me of the example used in the source about trying to see air. You feel it, you know its effects, but your sight can't grasp its boundaries because, well, where are they?
Exactly. The infinite can't be shrunk down to fit the finite container of our senses. So if the path outward through the senses is blocked,
Then the path has to turn inward.
right, and this leads directly to that principle. Man arafa, nafsahu, faqad, arafa, rabbahu. He who knows himself knows his Lord. The way forward is self-knowledge.
So understanding our own nature, our traits, capabilities, the Sifati, that's the doorway to understanding Rab, the provider.
That's the idea.
But what about that inner self, the I, the main as it's termed? What is it we're supposed to realize about this I?
Well, the material we're drawing from defines the individual self as merely a nuta.
A point.
Yes, a point of Tajalli Zat, which means a reflection or a manifestation of the divine essence. The individual isn't the essence itself, but like a single point of light reflecting from it.
Like a tiny mirror reflecting a huge light source.
A very small mirror, yes. And the key, according to the discussion, is for this point, this nuta, to realize what I am, to grasp that it is a reflection.
So when the I understands it's not the source, but just a reflection of that limitless divine essence.
That's when the awareness, the real feeling of God can start to emerge. Self-realization becomes the way to bypass those physical limits of perception we talked about.
Wow. That is a stunning insight. Okay, now let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about language, because language itself can often, trip us up when we discuss these things. We need precision.
Absolutely.
Let's start with that fundamental division the source material makes. In the way of haq, truth reality, there is no khalq, creation of mankind, and in the way of khalq, there is no haq. What does that mean practically?
It's a really critical maxim. It sets the stage. It basically means that truth, haq, has to be understood through the Creator's word, his established reality. It's not something we figure out just from guesswork, the atkal pachu of creation, as the source puts it.
But hang on, doesn't that seem a bit dismissive of human discovery, like science, for instance? Are we saying mankind can't find truth?
That's a really important question to address, and the sources clarify this. It's not saying humans discover nothing. It's saying that talk, mankind, only speaks truth when what they find confirms a reality already established by the Creator.
Okay, so the reality exists first, and we sometimes stumble upon it or uncover it.
Exactly. The implication is quite profound. The secrets of Hawk are ultimately revealed. They aren't purely invented by human minds. The material even used the example of, say, Einstein.
Right.
That moment of insight, the breakthrough. The source suggests it didn't come just from calculation. It stemmed from a thought, an inspiration, perhaps placed by the creator in the mind of an unbiased seeker.
So we're more like observers, confirming a reality that's already there, not the architects building it from scratch.
That's a good way to put it. The path of reality isn't a human construction project. It's a divine reality we're sometimes allowed to glimpse and maybe describe.
Okay. So if that's the sort of the outer boundary, what about our inner world? We hear so much about the back hand, the inner self. The journey is inward, we're told. What is the bat hand precisely?
Right, and this might be one of the most practical and honestly astonishing points in the whole discussion. It comes from Qalandar Baba Alia's teachings.
Okay.
The definition it simplifies everything we thought we knew, the Batin, the inner world. It's the Hafiza.
The Hafiza. Memory.
Yeah.
Your memory is your inner self.
Recollection, yes.
Wow. Okay, that's radically counterintuitive.
Yeah.
I think most people imagine the soul or spirit as this, ethereal space and maybe empty.
Yeah.
How can memory be the inner self?
Well, think about it. When you recall something, a scene, a person, a feeling, where are you? You're inside. You've activated that inner world. Your mind, in that moment, is processing information held in the memory, using all the inner senses, even that inner voice, the nut. So working with your mind, focusing on your memory, that is entering the internal world, the Batini Dunya.
So things like meditation or introspection. It's not about finding some kind of void. It's actually about focused reflection and retrieval. Accessing the data stored in your own Hafiza.
Exactly. It's a literal journey back through your own recorded experiences and knowledge. It makes the whole spiritual journey feel much more, concrete, actionable.
Yeah, tangible almost.
And this understanding of the inner world being memory, it leads us straight into a major paradox discussed in the source material, one that really challenges this neat division between the spiritual and the material.
Yeah, section 3. This deals with the listener's question, a really challenging one. Why did the prophet, peace be upon him, someone of such immense spiritual stature, suffer intense physical illness, that severe fever needing cooling water right near the end of his life? Why didn't his spiritual power just override that physical problem?
It's a powerful and, let's be honest, difficult theological question. The source material explains that the suffering, the high fever, the specific request for 3 buckets of cooling water, it related back physically to the effects of poison he'd been given years earlier.
Okay, so there was a direct physical cause.
Yes, and the key concept introduced here is labada bashariyat, the idea that the prophet came in the garment of humanity. He had a material body.
So if you're operating in the material world, you're subject to its rules. You have the spiritual level, the medical, and the maddie, the material.
And that's the rule of the material zone. Spiritual attainment, no matter how high, doesn't make you immune to physics, to cause and effect in the physical world.
Right. Poison affects a body. Injury affects a body, regardless of spiritual state.
It has to. Otherwise, the material realm wouldn't have integrity. And this is challenging, like you said, because we might want to believe spiritual power just cancels out physical laws.
Yeah, it feels like it should.
But Qalandar Baba Alia clarifies this point beautifully in the source. He states that God ensures his special servants pass through the common routines of mankind, including sickness, including suffering, precisely because they are still banda, servants, humans.
To show they operate within the material zone.
Exactly. They have to demonstrate that they follow its rules, suffer the same consequences. If they didn't, the nature of their message, their very humanity, could be questioned. It's almost the ultimate proof of their connection to the human condition.
Well, that adds a whole layer of meaning to it.
Yeah.
It preserves the integrity of the material existence.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap up with a final dive into some advanced terms, high-level definitions. Let's tackle Rab. What is the precise nature of Rab?
Okay, Rab. The source explains it by first asking us to think about something mundane, like salt, sodium chloride.
Okay, salt.
Salt isn't just one single thing. It's actually a gathering of specific properties, right? It has whiteness, a crystalline structure, a salty taste.
A collection of attributes.
Exactly. And the point is, everything in the material zone is like a combination, a consolidation of various attributes or properties. Now, Rab, according to this discussion, is the entity that provides the wassail, the resources.
Resources, like everything we need.
Yes, but these resources aren't just sitting on a shelf somewhere. They are created moment by moment through the Ichema, the combination, the collection of God's Sifat, his attributes.
So Rab is the entity that combines the attributes, like combining whiteness and saltiness and crystal structure to make salt available as a resource.
Precisely. Rab is the entity responsible for actively assembling and consolidating those divine attributes to create the necessary resources for life, for existence, in every conceivable state or condition. It's the active, ongoing provider through combination.
That makes the concept of Rab feel very dynamic, not static. It's like the constant creative force mixing the palette of divine attributes to provide for creation.
Fascinating.
Okay, next term, Qalandar. What does it mean to be a Qalandar?
A Qalandar. The definition given is one who has achieved a specific kind of vision. They see the whole in the part, cool in JAS, and conversely, the part in the whole, JAS in cool.
Okay, whole in the part in the whole. Let's use that mango analogy from the source to make it concrete.
Right. So you hold a single mango in your hand, that's the part, the JAS. If you see the cool, the whole, within that JAS, you don't just see the fruit. You grasp the reality of the entire tree it came from, the earth, the water, the sun, the whole system that produced it, all contained conceptually within that one mango.
Okay, I see the whole reflected in the single part.
And conversely, if you contemplate the whole tree, the cool, you understand precisely how that specific fruit, the JAS, is produced and what its function is within the whole system.
And spiritually, this means?
Spiritually, the Qalandar looks at any created thing, the JAS, and perceives the presence and reality of the creator, the cool. And when contemplating the creator, the cool, they understand the principles and mechanisms by which every single created thing, every JAS, comes into being. They see the underlying structure of reality connecting everything.
Wow, so everyday observation becomes potentially a profound spiritual act, seeing the macrocosm in the microcosm, and vice versa. Okay, finally, the source material corrects a common translation of the prophet's title, Rahmat alamin.
Yes, this is a significant clarification. Alamin is very often translated simply as worlds.
Right, mercy for all the worlds.
But the source points out that alamin, plural of alam, can also, and perhaps more accurately in context, be translated as states or conditions.
States, like states of being.
Exactly, like the state of youth, the state of old age, the state of poverty, the state of joy, the state of anger, the state of need. Any condition a being can find itself in is an alam.
Okay. And Rahmat, it means mercy, right?
It can mean mercy, but here the source defines it more specifically as the continuity of life, the ongoing provision and sustenance.
So putting that together, Rahmat alamin isn't just mercy for all worlds, it's more like...
It becomes the continuity of life for all states or conditions. The discussion concludes that the prophet, peace be upon him, was appointed as the sort of in charge of the cosmic mechanism responsible for ensuring the continuity of life, providing the necessary resources, guidance, sustenance to individuals in every single state or condition alam they might experience.
That gives the title a completely different feel. Much more universal, yes, but also incredibly personal and specific to every individual situation.
Precisely. It applies universally across all possible conditions of existence.
We have covered an immense amount of ground here, seriously. From understanding the limits of our perception, why we literally can't sense the unbounded ahad, to that really startling revelation that our own Hafiza, our memory, is the actual doorway to the Batin, the inner world.
The depth is there, but also the clarity offered by these precise definitions is, I think, incredibly helpful.
Absolutely. What stands out most to you from all this?
For me, it's probably that core idea that every single thing, whether it's a physical object like salt or even a thought process, is fundamentally just an assembled combination of divine attributes. It changes how you see, well, everything.
Yeah, that is mind-bending. The idea that reality is constructed from these combinations provided by Rab.
In the whole discussion, really, it keeps circling back to turning inward, getting our terms straight, and then, crucially, taking action based on that clearer understanding. It's about applying the knowledge.
Right. Okay, let's leave our listeners with a final provocative thought to mull over based on the source material. The source mentions hifz in Ayat al-Kursi, often translated as protection.
Yes.
But the source suggests it also carries the meaning that God does not tire of retaining or keeping all this complexity, all these processes, all this knowledge held within his, well, his awareness or memory, for lack of a better word.
Retaining the blueprint and the operation manual of everything.
Exactly. So the question for you, the listener, is this. If your memory, your Hafiza, is your inner world, and the spiritual journey involves exploring that inner world, What might be the ultimate function of memory, of retention and recollection within the divine reality itself? Something to reflect on.
A deep question indeed.
Until our next deep dive.